Welcome to Clock Into Your Calling, inspiring believers to live out their faith every day, not just on Sundays. This podcast is dedicated to help you break the sacred secular divide, sharpen your gifts, and take intentional steps that honor God. Discover how pastors, professionals, and industry leaders live faithfully, cultivate lasting change, and advance the kingdom of God. Thank you for joining us. If you find this helpful or know someone who would, please share, subscribe, and leave a like or comment below. God bless and enjoy the episode.
What is happening, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Clock Into Your Calling. I'm so honored that you guys would invest some of your time into being here with us today. It truly means so much to me. Guys, your likes, your shares, subscribes, just taking a moment to share this with a friend, it truly helps me reach more people and continue to do this. And I'm so thankful for those of you that already have done that as well. Make sure you guys stay tuned to the end for the challenge question, and also flip over to the YouTube to see the video version of this podcast. So today's topic, we have the person behind the profession. We're going to be talking about identity all over the place, but especially in the workplace as well. So my guest today, Melissa Anthony, bachelor's in communication from UCF. Go Knights. I know they have a lot of my money, and I was there forever too.
Mine now too.
Yeah. All your kids are there too. So you studied limited public relationships, advertising and marketing. I know you were doing a couple internships as well, seeing what was right for you after college. And now you are the vice president of donor engagements in corporate healthcare. And I know you just have a true heart for leadership, serving, and just to continue to grow. Welcome to the podcast. I'm honored to sit across from you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate being asked.
Yeah. So I want to get to know you a little bit. We have our first question. I want to ask you, what is something coming up that you are looking forward to?
Oh. Okay, actually, this is a really easy one. I don't even have to ponder. I didn't even know this question, but I love it.
You said no math questions, so I thought this was better.
This is much better, yeah.
Okay.
For probably the last 4 or 5 months, I've been training for something called High Rocks. Are you familiar with it?
I'm not.
Okay, so it's kind of like you take boot camp type of CrossFit and you mix it with running. And so it's like an extreme fitness challenge. I'm flying out to Chicago next Thursday with my best friend from high school.
Wow.
So we've been training remotely, her over in the St. Pete area, me here in Orlando for about 6 months now. And it's a pretty extreme fitness challenge. I've never done anything like this before. So pray for your girl. Yeah. But I am excited. I like having a challenge like that. And it's been really motivating to get up super early and try things I've never tried in the gym, way heavier, way harder than I've ever even wanted to do.
Wow.
And so I'm excited to see it all come full circle.
Yeah. And you said, when was it?
This day next week. So.
This day next week. All right. 1 week. And are you ready now, or do you guys still some training to do?
No, now I need to taper off. Now I need to just protect my body. I made it this long. I just need to finish strong. Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, if you haven't trained, then I guess
lots of cardio this week. That's the easy part.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Looking forward to hearing how that goes. So as we transition into our conversation for today, as we talk about identity, and that's truly and we're going to talk a lot about how we got to today too, because I think that your upbringing, how you grew up, what you were involved in really shapes what your identity is, because those are the natural roots that we have already planted in ourselves. So can you help me understand, how did we get to today, maybe touching on your faith journey, some of the important parts of that, maybe some key moments there?
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up going to church, but it was really attending church. Mm-hmm. And I like to think of it and kind of summarize. I didn't love church, but I loved grandma, and grandma loved church. So we went to church, and my brother and I would go with her, and we checked all the right boxes, right? Mm-hmm. We were baptized in the big white dress for me and the little white suit for him. We volunteered, we served, we did the VBS, everything that we were supposed to do, because it was important to grandma, and she was trying. She was trying, but it was the type of church that just never really connected with us. So it didn't stay with us. And so once I didn't have grandma honking the horn out front to kind of make you get in the car.
Let's go. Yeah.
As soon as I went away to college, it was like, cool, like Sundays are free. And I really fell away from any type of church environment at that point. And looking back, it's so crazy, because that's really when I needed the church more than ever. But I felt like, life is good. I'm happy, healthy. Things are going well. Maybe someday in the future, but it wasn't a priority. So fast forward, graduate from college and get married. And we have our first daughter, and still not really super motivated. Life is good. Everything's falling in line. Mm-hmm. And I'm super pregnant with my son. So it's about early 2007. And I passed by this festival on the side of the road, and it was an Easter egg hunt, and it said free 10,000 eggs. I thought, I'm super pregnant all by myself on the weekends because my husband was working. I said, if they'll entertain this 2-year-old for a little while, we'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
And that was actually my first introduction to the type of church that I knew I had been missing. They had the fun music playing. They were really just genuinely authentic, nice people. And I just had fun. And so they invited me back. And ever since then, that was how I always know, because my son was born just about a month after that.
Wow.
So we always know we're walking that type of a timeline. But
Yeah.
it changed the way that we look at church. That church could be fun and it could be exciting. It could be casual. The very first service I remember, it was a pastor in jeans and a Patriots football jersey. And I thought, okay, this is not what I was expecting.
That should have been the first red flag, the Patriots jersey.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. John's a Dolphins fan. So I was like,
that's why we're good friends.
Rivals, yeah.
John, your husband. Yes. Okay,
yes.
Just for context there.
Yeah. And so and the message for the first time, it actually made sense to me. It was told in a story. And I remember coming home from church that day, and John came home from work and he says, what'd you do today? I said, I went to church. He's like, you did what? And I was like, yeah. I said, I had donuts, hot coffee. They watched Aubrey. It was great.
Yeah.
And he was surprised, but really supportive. And seeing how much I started really liking going by myself, he started coming as well once his schedule would allow for that. And so that's really the path forward.
Yeah.
So making church fun was really that golden ticket for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think the line that we think sometimes, and maybe keeping somebody else out of church, is that church can't be fun.
Oh, yeah.
And what kind of happens there is like, well, why would I want to go somewhere that's not fun? They're going to condemn me for all the things I'm doing, talk about how much sin I have, and then ask me to confess. Well, I think that Action does such a great job of that, of just reaching the person first. And one of the lines I remember Pastor Justin saying is that you don't have to believe what we believe to belong here. And there's no pushing. And I remember I got to watch you and your family share a little bit about your testimony. And you were talking a lot about how you didn't push your family. It was all at their timing.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important because we get pushed so many ways in our life, and everybody seems like they have an agenda for us. And it's like, you don't know me, but I think you did touch it. And if you want to touch on any of that too, as you were kind of guiding your family to their faith journey, like what was that? How did that play a part in not pushing them somewhere, but just allowing them to come at their own timing?
Yeah. So once we started going to church, it became routine. And I was always afraid that it would become routine in a bad way. And so I wanted it to be something was not negotiable at that young age, but that actually would be sustainable when they would actually leave us. And so for my husband and I, it became a phrase that we really kind of were passionate about, was this building a sustainable faith. When we're not honking the horn outside, I want them to miss church. I want them to know that they have people who are looking for them. And I want them to feel connected to the church to be able to do that. And so the best way that you can do that is giving them their own lanes to run in. So giving them their own teams to serve on, their own small groups to go to, them sitting next to me every single Sunday. That would be the greatest risk that I could have. And so we stayed at one church that converted to another church, had a great time there. But it was Action's momentum, kind of youth camp that they had. There really was a spark for us. And seeing it took my son at the time, probably 14, it took his level of worship and engagement and excitement for God to a whole nother level. And that checked the box for us of sustainable faith, that if he gets this pumped really, to go to church. And I was like, then we need to follow that. We need to steward that and let him lead us a little bit. And so that was a really great move for us. And once we got over there, Aubrey shortly followed, and having somewhere that was pouring into the young adults and the youth the way that they were was really exciting for us. And it's proven to be just life-changing.
Yeah, that's so good. I know that it's cool to see that you came just to support, your kids, and you wanted to be a good parent, and you wanted to do the box checking. And we have to be careful too, because as you talked about, it can become a routine just every Sunday that we're just like, we are checking a box, but we don't even know. And that could be where we can easily fall into complacent Christianity. And I know that you did such a great job of just continuing your faith and just being a part of that. So I think that that's so cool. And just to see the capacity which you're leading now, which I bet you never thought would be the case, coaching at Action, and just to come, from being and that's the goal. We don't have to contribute as soon as we start. We can always we can come in, we can receive, because that's what I think the church does so good. A good church is loving on the people who need it, because we all are coming from certain spots. But you made a good point. One of the things I heard Pastor Justin in that same message talking about is that most people convert and come to Christianity before 18. But after that, it takes a severe life event. Takes something drastic happening for them. And it kind of sounds like similar to you. You guys had two babies at the time, two under two. Two and under, or however you want to say that. But I think that's just really cool to hear that story.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things that really was pivotal for us too is just recognizing that there has to be some grace in it. Keeping it fun means not making it required, if you will. And so if you have to miss a Sunday, sometimes you have to, and finding a different way to prioritize getting that message in the week and giving them a little bit of levity in it where it didn't feel like something they had to do, but that they got to do.
Right.
And I think that was one way of keeping church fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's so good. I want to just kind of out myself here real quick because I know that my heart's not in the right place. Some mornings on Sundays that I'll be driving to church and I see people like, doing their daily activities and I'm like, you need to be at church. And I'm like, I need to then it's always those moments where I check myself and it's becoming religious for me instead of that relational side. And the Bible talks so much about guarding your heart over everything. And that's just me not doing a good job of that. That get to turns into a have to, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I agree.
So I want to talk a little bit about identity in the workplace. So what comes to mind? What are some common things that you think we can attach our identity to in the workplace?
So when I think about identity, I really would kind of summarize it to say that it's who we are, not what we do. And what we do can be what we start to measure our success by, because that's what the world can see, touch, feel. It's what they can view as productivity. It has such worth and value placed in it that's really where I think we can become almost like obsessed of kind of making sure that we have the validation of others and that they will see us as fruitful. They will see us as productive. They will see us as somebody who can get things done. And so sometimes that type of level of expectation of ourselves can start to become who we are, as we're the achiever. We're the one who can do this. We get things done. And that's really where we can kind of get lost in ourselves sometimes. And where we're losing our identity is the who that's a part of all of that. And so that's where I kind of feel like it can become a slippery slope pretty quickly.
Right.
Yeah, in the workplace.
So what are so it's like you said, it's like what you're producing. That's like kind of like your label. You're always a good producer. You're always on time. You got to get at it's all the things that we're doing. But what are some common things that we could attach our identity to? Maybe some like specific examples like.
Yeah. I would say kind of taking it in the workplace and outside of the workplace. I've given the example. I mean, you can definitely attach your identity to a certain vocation and like, this is what I do and this is what everybody comes to me for. And this is where I'm the expert. And that can become territorial, right? But even you can tie yourself to a relationship, like and your identity can be found in like some other person.
Yeah, that's good.
Taking it outside of the workplace, like I said, there's a piece of my life where like my identity can really start to get into my children's lives and into their hobbies. And so I think about like chapters of my life where I was the baseball mom, I was the cheer mom, I was the room mom. And now as my kids are older, I let that be my life and it was amazing. Absolutely so grateful for it. But the way I try to think about it now is that those were chapters in a bigger book, but it's when they become the book themselves, like that's where all your identity is.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the danger is, because it's okay to have those chapters and you'll miss them, right, when they're gone. But if that's all you have, you're really kind of starting to live vicariously through somebody else and losing yourself.
Yeah, that's good.
When my son played baseball, he played baseball for like 11 years and it was an incredibly happy time, and cheer for my daughter for about the same amount of time. And I'm the kind of person where it's like, whatever they're doing, like if they'll let me, I want to be a part of it. And so we're super involved. But when cheer went away and baseball went away, it hurt my heart. I mean, I could barely drive past a baseball field, like a lump in my throat. You see the lights and you could like smell the grass with the windows out. But I realized that was a huge piece of me that I lost too. And if you're not careful, you start to feel like, then who am I without that? And so I think just even in the workplace, not getting so attached to certain projects or even people in the workplace and teams that can start to kind of dominate.
Yeah, that's really good. Do you think if you get a van, your identity is a soccer mom?
No.
Okay.
No, a large SUV that could be. Yeah, you need that third row for sure. Yeah. I don't even need it anymore. And I still have the third row. I'm hanging on to that. Yeah, for sure.
That's good. So I want to ask you talked a little bit about it as you get removed from that season of what you could have placed your identity in. How do we know, maybe when we haven't lost something yet, how do we know where our identity is at? What should we be thinking about to know where that is?
I think the way that you know that is when you can't picture who you are without it, is like you see a lot with like pro athletes, for example, when the dream is gone, they fall into depression, drugs, and spiral because all the eggs were in that one basket. And so, not to repeat what I said earlier, but it's kind of that, if I'm not this, then who am I? And I think I see a lot when people in relationships, they are the spouse, they are so attached to that relationship that if that separates, somebody can really be completely lost. And so kind of building that foundation that you have some other things that fulfill you and that you're working towards. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think there's a good spot there because there should be a point where you want to put a lot of time, effort into those things,
Yeah.
but those can't be the most important thing that
Right.
you call yourself. And you talked about it a little bit, but the titles I think nowadays are, first of all, they're getting out of control how long they are. I'm
Yes.
like, okay, what does that even mean? I don't even know what you do based off your title.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that we can easily attach ourselves to, if you're maybe a little bit younger, like what college degree
Yeah.
you have, like I'm a civil engineer, I'm this, or what title we are. Like it's like always about what do you do? And I think
Hmm.
that our culture we can kind of think about that because most questions nowadays when you get to know somebody is what do you do? So you automatically think that's the most important thing about me. That's the thing I want to talk about. It's weird to be like, who are you?
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not a question. That's not
Yeah.
like a
I have
common
a, I have
question.
a fun kind of a trick, if you will, that I
Please.
use. So I do a lot of conversations and networking spaces and all, and I'm not a natural networker. I love authentic, genuine conversation, but I'm not necessarily the best at like trying to move the needle with
Oh,
a targeted, like
yeah.
must talk about this. But if you get me talking and we can connect, like we're going to have a great time.
Uh-huh.
So when I'm in a room and I'm getting to know people, what I love to say is like, if we were at a networking situation or even like in a social situation, I'll say, okay, so when you're not here doing podcasts, what do you do? Tell me a little bit about you. Like,
Yeah.
who are you for fun?
Yeah.
And you watch people like they're so refreshed.
Mhm.
And I think it's because I've learned so many times that other people who maybe they're in between careers, maybe it's a
Mhm.
mom who is currently, caregiving for a family member, for their own children. And they may look at it as a way of like, all you want to know is like what my profession is, like what is a paycheck? And there's so much more. So
Yeah.
opening the conversation with like, so tell me about you. Like
Yeah.
tell me one fun fact about you. When you're not here, what are you doing?
Right.
And watch how refreshing it is because it's
Right.
actually saying like, I want to know who you are.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
And plus those are way better conversations because they're like, oh, well, normally I'm running triathlons. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm a runner too. Or
Yeah.
I'm shuttling the kids around. Oh, how old are your kids?
Right.
The authentic conversation that comes from being more open-minded to someone's identity outside of what they do is really where the relationship's going to form too.
Yeah, that's really good. I think
Yeah.
you can get to know people really well by doing that's a cool little trick. I'll have to try
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Roll off the
Because
tongue.
I think a lot of times our conversations, they can almost just become transactional to at
Yeah.
that point, but now they can become relational with that kind of different mindset that we have to approach our different conversations. So
Yeah.
you talked about you've done a lot of different things.
Mhm.
I know that you are coaching now at church during some of our serving groups, some of our 18, which is our people that serve at our church, fundraising, mentorship, leader, always something new going on. I
Yeah.
love it because you're
Yeah.
always aspiring towards something. You have goals, and I think that's awesome. So I want to ask, maybe if you can just touch maybe on what you're doing now. I think that'll be the best context, and maybe just touch on a little bit about how each of those roles was shaping you and shaping your identity to coming to now.
Yeah. So when I had internships, as you mentioned,
Mhm.
and I got hired into the workplace pretty young. And I've actually been with the same company now for 23 years.
That's
Right.
amazing.
Yeah. I'm really excited about that. But when
Yeah.
I think about now the things that I love to do that are so fulfilling and the opportunities that I'm given, I look back and I think, like, how did I get in the position of anybody wanting to talk to me on a podcast? How would I get to
Right.
a position of anybody asking to be mentored by me or asking for life advice? I'm thinking like I'm so ill qualified for this. And I try to look back and I said, it's because so many people trusted, 20-year-old me into a professional situation and mentored me and kind of build this relationship and put the time in with me. And so
Yeah.
now it's like I feel so driven to try to do that for other people to help them to see
That's cool.
the potential that they have. And I think of like, wow, I felt so unworthy of the attention from people that would actually help me in and out of the church, right? More so even out of the church, but in the workplace and help correct me when there are
Yeah.
opportunities and,
Yeah.
let me learn from their mistakes. And so now having that opportunity, I'm always very passionate about what I kind of paraphrase as my calling is to love, serve, and lead.
Mm.
And so I feel like I want to love people around me. I want to be someone who's perceived as someone who authentically cares about
Mhm.
people. Love serving. Volunteering is actually probably one of my hobbies. If you were to ask me like what a hobby is, I love to
That's
serve,
amazing.
love to be involved, don't maybe do a fault sometimes for my calendar purpose,
Yeah.
but I really love leading. And it's
Mhm.
not from a like, I like to be in charge type of a thing. Unless we're like in a group project, I'm probably that person. We're being honest, right?
All your
No.
classmates are like, yeah,
Yes,
thanks for saying
yes,
that.
yeah. Tap
Yeah.
me in, tap me
Yeah.
in. But I like to steward. I have a way of being able to see a little bit forward, and I like to kind of bring people on a
Mhm.
journey like that. So love serving and leading has been great, and so getting to mentor people of all different types, that's just been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And I see, yeah, you do all these things very well. And it's so cool to see just the next generation. We need people like you to do that because people like me, we got a lot of blind spots, maybe just a little bit younger. We all have so many blind spots. And I think that it's the correction from love and I think the ability to be teachable at any age is so beneficial because that's just the humility in its sense right there. And you're being able to say, hey, I didn't see that part because we all have our blind spots. And I'm so thankful for everyone that does that for me, even though it's hard at first. I'm not
Yeah.
going to lie. At first,
Yeah.
my natural response is no, you're wrong.
That's right. That's
And
right.
I literally have to say in that moment, don't say anything before you know what you want to say. And I
Yeah.
think that, that's awesome. So we're thankful for people like you. So any specific stories, maybe about helping shape your identity to what you are now, maybe like a pivotal role, specific person?
I think for me, there was this moment, it's probably, I'm doing the math, about 10 years ago. I would say 10 to 12 years ago.
All right. You said you weren't doing math, but
Yeah, I know.
you're great.
I gave myself a range,
Yeah.
and a caveat that it was an estimate. So I'm safe with all of that. Yeah. But I was coming in. So at this point, we actually were going to church. We were walking with the Lord. We were getting involved and all, so I would have perceived that that was just something that people knew about me, right? It's just important to me. But when I was coming in the parking lot one day, I had my hands full and locked the car and walking in, a colleague passed my car, my little Sonata at the time, and she saw the little fish symbol on the back of my car. And I'll never forget, she says, Melissa, I had no idea you were a Christian. And she said, that's so cool. And at the moment I was like, okay, whatever, it's hot. I got my hands full and I get back to my desk. I remember putting all the stuff down and I thought, why was she so surprised by that? I thought all of it just hit me. I was like, hey, what am I doing that she didn't think I was a Christian? And what am I not doing to make that just something that would almost be assumed? Right. And so that was a pivotal moment for me because I realized that although I wasn't being told by my workplace or my coworkers that I couldn't identify as a Christian, I was tempering the best part of me, right? The most authentic thing, the best thing that I can even offer the workplace.
Wow.
You're right. Is kind of my identity in Christ and bringing that as a leader. And I thought, I'm so glad that we had that really uncomfortable conversation. And I know she didn't mean anything of it. I think she was making small talk, and that's why we put the fishes on our cars and all these emblems is to invite conversation, right? And to identify as a Christian. And I thought, I'm so thankful for that moment and that moment kind of crushed my soul a little bit, but it really changed the way that I want to be someone that you don't even have to know. You just assume the way that she loves people and the way she talks and that should just be how it is. Yeah. So that was a pivotal moment for me.
Yeah, that's really good because I think you could have easily taken that and not done anything with it. Just it just would oh, okay.
Yeah, because I was a little offended. Between the walk to my car to my office, there was a little bit of how judgy, and the tone was actually just how I gave it to you. So it was a little bit of oh, and so all of it, it really could have offended me. And I'm so glad that God worked in my heart in that moment that just said maybe he was speaking through her of hey, it's time to show up. And now something kind of taking this back to your last question about mentoring, something that makes me just crazy happy. It happened just a couple weeks ago when new team members come into the office. They make their rounds, they get to meet all the leaders and spend some time together, just open conversation, which I love. And we had one of the young ladies come in my office and she could see around my office that I have scripture, I have a prayer journal, and she could see all these things. And I don't think I would have been brave enough to have put those things even out. When I first started, in your 20s, it was play it safe, don't talk about politics and don't talk about religion and just stay the course. And realizing what I was actually robbing myself and my team members of. But in that conversation, I could see her eyes kind of wandering and judging the office. And she said, so are you allowed to have these things out? And I said, yeah, of course. Right. And she said, that's so cool. And she said, I just didn't think maybe I should do that. And I said, well, why not? It opened up a conversation and it spiraled into just this really profound, deep conversation of bringing your best self to work. And I shared with her the story. And I said, I would hate for you to go 20 years, right? 10 years into your career and be like, wow, I can't believe I was checking that at the door every day when, that really could have opened way more doors in here. So I love now getting to hopefully just live it out in a way that is observed and emulated perhaps for some of them, but also for them to get to see that it can be who you are included in what you do.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, as you talked about, those are the things that we were all told to stay clear from for so long. And I think that it's easy for us to just play the safe route, play the comfortable route. Hey, and that's what I think causes us sometimes to compartmentalize our faith, that we can just check it off the box on the weekend. That's how we go into because you're not checking the box Monday through Friday, right?
Right.
Because if you were, that's kind of how you're bringing your faith into your everyday work. And I think that's one of the things that I wanted to confront on this podcast, that you can't, I think you're not your best version of yourself if you're not bringing your faith everywhere that you are. So continue to do that. It's really cool. And I also think that you're giving courage to somebody else too by having those things out,
Absolutely.
right? So that person could have just passed by your office and just, hey, I mean, okay, there's Melissa's office.
Yeah.
Great. Who's next, right? But now that she knows, and also it's probably making her more comfortable too.
Yeah. And I think it's important, for all the reasons that you mentioned, but it's almost like you're building a support system within your office. Even if they're people who don't necessarily follow Christ and identify themselves as a Christian, you're setting a foundation for like, this is how I behave. This is what I believe. This is how I'm going to handle tough decisions. This is the types of conversation I will and won't be a part of. Right. And you're establishing a safe ground almost for folks. And I also feel like you're also building allies. Sometimes you need accountability partners in the office with a tough decision that it's very tempting to maybe go away that isn't maybe the most ethical, and but it's easier and it's profitable or it's productive and all the things that the world would say like, duh, do that. Right. But you do need others in the office who have your same shared values, or if you don't share them, that have those values that you can say like, hey, can I run this by you? Hey, I'm not feeling good about this. Because there's just strength in numbers and you need to know who you can go to with a closed door and have an honest conversation, and where they're coming from. So it's almost like build your tribe.
Yeah. And that's good because I think that we think that everybody will like you regardless.
Yeah.
But if I stay clear from those things, so if I don't talk about politics, I don't talk about religion, I'm not going to offend anybody, I'm good. But I think that we have problems with people outside of those things too. So I don't think bringing your faith to the table actually creates any more division than it already will. But actually, I think it just helps you be more bold. And also it can be on your mind more.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is true. I hear that you have a giant calendar.
I do.
In your office.
I do.
What is that about?
Oh, I should have brought you a picture. Oh. It's like the size of these two TVs put together.
It wouldn't even fit in this.
No, give or take, not in the door.
How many years out is this thing scheduled?
It's only a 12-month, but every single month it's like the dreaded task of actually forecasting out 2026, 2027. But I kind of live by, if you want to know what the date for the day of the week is, January 2008. I'm like, it's probably a Thursday since I have something on that Friday. Yes, I live by that calendar. I love it.
That's so cool. And I know, so another thing that I know that you mentioned that you did, not on here, but just before, that you have a lot of just reminders on your phone, just worship music in different spots, listening to the word. How are you fueling yourself every day to help your identity be in Christ even when you're at work?
Yeah. I find that if I don't position my heart and my head and kind of put that lens on from the very beginning of my day, how easy it is for the whole day to go a completely different direction. And the things of this world have my attention, right? And so one habit that I love, our first pastor in that first church, he had this great message that you'll never forget this now. He called it, don't kick the puppy. I thought, oh my gosh, who would ever kick a puppy, right? I was like, that's terrible. But what he basically meant was like, from the minute that you wake up, is like, God is waiting for you. He's like, okay, you're up. Let's go.
Wow.
Just like a new puppy is, right? They're looking at you. Whatever you did the day before, they don't even care. But they're like, new morning, let's go.
That's good.
But what we do is we push the puppy away and we grab the phone. And God's like, okay. Well, when they're done with that, like, surely they're going to come back to me. And then we go and we do something else. And so we're kind of kicking the puppy, like just like you do a new puppy who's just keeps coming back, forgiving, and waiting for your attention. But then when you get that puppy attention, how great is it, right? And so I try to wake up and not kick the puppy. That's number one, right? So I spend a few minutes before I even let my feet hit the floor to pray that God, you already know how today is going to go. Bless it, make it for you. Show me what you want me to see. Show me who you want me to be with. And so I try really hard to kind of set that tone for the entire day. Worship music has been a game changer for me. I admit when I first came to church and really, I was like, what is all this? Like, they're super long songs. Like some of them all sound the same. But I realized because I didn't know the stories that they were singing about. I didn't know who these people were. But then the further you get in the word and the further you get connected, it's like, I can follow this, right? I understand what's happening. So worship music is a game changer, and it's a constant positivity. If you come in my office, always there's music playing in the background.
Oh, wow.
And so when people come in, it's always just like a nice tone for meetings or conversations. Of course, I'll turn it on or off or if we need to dialogue, but I want
when she wants, she'll just turn it on.
Yeah, that's right. I was like, I'm sorry, wait, is it still going? No. But I want that to be something that when people come to my office, like they immediately can hear that. And it's part of the vibe that I want to give off is, it's calm, it's neutral. I do a lot of event planning. So it is really, really busy and very stressful. And so all those types of things help to just give me a perspective of it's just an event. It's just a delivery. It's just an invoice. So those are good perspectives that help me to kind of stay grounded.
Yeah, that's really good. I got to say, I just do not like planning anything. It's just so stressful.
I got you.
It's so stressful. I don't know. That's why we all have different gifts.
Yeah.
Every time I invite somebody and they're like, I can't make it, I'm like, oh, really? You don't care about me?
Yes.
I have to do that 8 more times. Are you kidding me?
Yes, I have to do it and raise money.
Whole event's off.
That's right.
We're off. We're done.
Yeah.
No, that's really good. So you talk a little bit about this because, well, just about events in general, but I think that the workplace and the kingdom can measure success differently.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that you think about knowing that they measure success differently to keep you still making a difference for the kingdom and not just serving earthly things and going for the earthly prize?
That concludes part 1 of this episode. In part 2, we'll explore how Melissa stays anchored in God's truth and how a life of consistent integrity leaves an impact that lasts beyond this life. Thank you for watching. See you next time.